Shut up, compressor. Hello, everybody. Matt here with Doogs Models, coming to you with part 2 of the Trumpeter P-47 build log. Now, I'm still without a compressor for another 2 days or so, and so I've been sort of pushing ahead on things that I can do without it. We walked through what I'm doing in the cockpit and things like that, and the blast tubes, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But I've been doing a lot of work on the engine, and specifically figuring out how to deal with mounting it. We've got the rear bank of cylinders here, the collector rings for the exhaust. Up here we've got the forward rings and the crankcase cover and the ignition ring. I've already gone ahead, let's see if I can balance this a little bit, and drilled out the holes in the ignition ring, so those will be wired up later. But the key has been how to mount this securely into the firewall. And I know I talked about using magnets, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. So right here we have a piece of roof flashing that I bought from Lowe's for a whopping 50 cents, and I sort of cut it up with a pair of snips. This one I happened to cut into a circle to sort of mount right in here. And then on the back of this guy, I went ahead and sanded and ground down the sort of rims of this rear piece here, which also has additional collector things that I cut off because you don't see them. So my plan, cunning plan, is to essentially set it up so that I can put these collector rings into their slots like this and mount a magnet to the back of these cylinders and have it all just locked down like so. Now, how to get it to locate properly, that's the real trick, right? So I've got this magnet that I was playing with last time that just happens to be the perfect size to fit right in here. I mean, look at that. That does not get any more perfect. Now my plan to mount this guy is pretty simple. And it involves super glue. Yay, super glue. So I've test fit this about 1 billion times now, so it's time to commit. First, I'm usually super dainty with the super glue, try to not get it everywhere, but in this case I want as much surface area covered as I can to make sure that it holds. Okay, that's quite a bit. Watch, I'm going to fuck it up now and like stick it to something wrong, right? So then just like so. Ta-da. And hopefully, the way that this all goes down, I will be able to, once I call this a day, and once everything is mounted, maybe even be able to strip out these collector ring mounts and just have the engine and the magnet ready to go. So I can just drop it on and maybe even turn it as I need to make sure that everything aligns just so. But this is a happy place to be. Now that I've got it sitting here like this, I can also come in here and give it some additional business on the inside. Toothpick, kind of swish this around. Make sure it's grabbing as many places as it possibly can. All right. That is looking pretty good. So I'm going to let that set for a minute, and then we're going to come back and play with some more things and see if this will actually come off of the firewall and if the magnet will separate from the sheet metal, because it is a tight grip. Okay, while this sets up a bit more, I want to give it plenty of time. We're going to go ahead and talk about the blast tubes, because we've got to talk about the blast tubes. So I tried the whole drilling these out a little bit more, putting magnets on here, and it's just too far of a distance to cover, inserting from the front. This gun is okay, but as you can see, it kind of sits weird, and sets the angle of the inboard blast tube off, deflected down just a little bit, which is annoying in and of itself. But then these other ones, sort of getting them back all the way from up front here, all the way back into the machine guns, once the wing is closed, that is a hell of a feat, because they're pretty waggy once they get in here until they find where they need to go. So I'd rather have something a lot simpler, a lot cleaner than that to deal with. And in order to do that, what I have done, as you can see here, is I have marked the guns where I'm going to cut them. I'm actually going to cut these damn things. And then I'm going to install a piece of sort of plastic here as a backstop. And I'm going to take that roof flashing and cut some strips of it off and glue it to the front of the plastic. Put some magnets on the back of these guys and call it a day. So let's go ahead and start playing with that. Now, to get these things sort of in position, I went ahead and glued them in. So we have to force them out like so. Come on, there we go. Okay, we got some blast tubes to play with. Okay, so the Dremel is low on batteries and needs to be charged. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and prepare the mounting sheets with this flashing. So I've basically took measurements of the space that the guns will occupy and kind of where the blast tubes need to be able to sit in some little plastic strips and transferred those over to Post-it notes, and then I can just sketch the Post-it notes right on here. This doesn't have to be anywhere close to exact. It basically just has to be thin enough that the wings can close on top of it. Given how thick the P-47's wings are, I'm not super concerned. Got some big old snips. Not too shabby. Chop off the end. So how are these things going to mount? They're going to mount right in this line. See right there. So we're going to have to remove that gun, this one right here, and the mounting bracket for it right there, and put in a piece of plastic. I'm going to set it 1 millimeter back, eyeball it basically, and that will give us enough space to really play with this. Now I've got a couple things in here I need to check in terms of measurements of where things like bazooka tubes might go, so let me do that, and pylons as well, and then we'll come back and go ahead and make sure that we get these things squared away. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut off a piece of styrene plank, I guess. It's not rod, it's not really a bar, just rectangular rod. Glued it, as you can see. This line is a little bit behind the marking lines, just about 1 millimeter. And this is secured up front with, to me, extra thin, and I have a little bit of CA at the back to hold it sort of at a, as you can see, more of a vertical angle than kind of sitting flush to the wing. I also went ahead and drilled out, let's see if we can, right here and back here for the rocket tubes. And surprise, surprise, Edwards resin tubes do not match up with the mounting holes that Trumpeter has for the kit. So remarked it a little bit back, and we should be good to go there. Now, once this sets up, we will be taking the flashing, taking the Post-it off, obviously, and gluing it to the front face of this. And that should give us a nice magnetic surface with which to play. And just to sanity check ourselves, I've got a 1 millimeter magnet right here on the tweezers. Good. Yank that off. And look at that. It sticks right to it. Perfect. Now, the hold on this stuff isn't going to be, I don't think, super strong. Well, it's equally as strong as the tweezers, so that's a good sign. All right, time to let some things dry, and we will be back. Okay, well, some of those wing elements set up, and the Dremel battery charges so we can actually cut these barrels. I went ahead and tested the strength of the magnet that has been glued onto the back of the engine, and not only did it separate from the firewall, but check this out. So we've got the firewall, we've got the magnet securely glued to the engine. And you notice I've taken off the collector rings because they're not needed anymore. Watch this. Boom, just like that. And then it comes away, nice and easy, and goes back. How is that for awesome? And we are back. And good news is that the Dremel has batteries again. Ha ha ha! And I have already cut the various blast tubes into their respective lengths and glued magnets onto them. So, as you can see, blast tube, little tiny magnet. Magnets are a pain in the ass to glue on because these tweezers are magnetic. So I have to place these on with my fingers, which is messy to say the least when super glue and such small sizes are involved. In the wing, I've glued in this bracing plate and I've glued in the piece of flashing that will provide purchase for those magnets. So let's go ahead and close this up and do a little test and see how it all comes together. As you can see, the wing fits nicely with the little bracing plate right there on the inside. That makes everybody happy. Blast tube plate. It's gonna be fun to clean this guy up in the future, but come on. There we go. It'll be fun to clean this guy up in the future, but I'll think about that later. For now, okay. So we've got the guns, or not the guns, but we've got the gun plate right there. We've got the flashing inside. Now let's go ahead and start placing some barrels. Click. It has to be because of the super glue. Click. That's a satisfying sound, isn't it? Which did click. And then, as you can see, we have them all right in there just like that. Voila. And we can come in here as we want to. Nudge them however we need to. Make sure everything is all aligned. And we have gun barrels. Blast tubes. Damn it, blast tubes. That, as we need to, we can just pull right out. And put right back in. That's going to make life so much easier building this thing. Sweet. All right. Time to put things down for the night, and I will resume with the fun narrations and things like that on the next bench session. So you won't notice anything, but it will be another day for me.